What's up, you guys? Welcome to another episode of The Variety Views. I'm your host, The Variety Vendor, and I wanted to do this for Top 10 Tuesdays, but since these two things are the things that I'm completely passionate about, and not just that, but also it's more than a top 10 list, so I figured why not just do it in one go, and yeah, that's all I gotta say about that. And who knows, maybe like next week there's gonna be some things that are going to happen that either going to contradict, or either my prediction would come to fruition. So let's get right into it. As far as wrestling goes, first thing, I think that Tetsuya Naito will win the New Japan IWGP Heavyweight Championship. He didn't win it at Wrestle Kingdom. I know the reason for that is because they're still going with Okada, but I feel like Tetsuya Naito is going to win the championship before this year is over. My guess would be at either Invasion Attack or Dominion. One of those two shows. And the thing that I like about New Japan, actually something that I really adore about New Japan, that I wish that WWE would do, and other shows would do, even, Impact with their, Bound for Glory, and Ring of Honor with their Final Battle, is that you don't have to have the biggest show be the biggest, the biggest matches. It can be a show where you have the ending of the feud, because I always said this: storylines is what drives the business. It doesn't matter if you're gonna have a dream match or not. It's cool to see a dream match, but dream matches don't have to be at WrestleMania. Hey, it can be at SummerSlam. It can be at Survivor Series. It can be at Royal Rumble. It does not matter. If it's warranted, do it. If not, then you can, hold it off. So this is something that I really like about New Japan. What they're doing is that, and the last time we've seen a title change at Wrestle Kingdom, a world title change, it's been like 5 or 6 years. So, or even longer than that. I think even 7 years. So, that's something that I really like about New Japan. And I think Tetsuya Naito will win the IWGP Heavyweight Championship because I think, a lot of fans are, getting behind him. And I feel like him feuding with Jericho is going to elevate him. Thus, once he get that, that IWGP title, he will be a bigger star then. So, there you go. Number 2 would be, it will be an awesome year for the WWE. The past few years haven't been that great. Last year was good, though. I thought last year was definitely better than 2016, definitely better than 2015, better than 2014, 2013. Was, neck and neck with 2012. But it was a little bit better. Maybe not as good as 2011. There were some really good stuff in 2011. I feel like this year is going to be that much better. I feel like the Royal Rumble will deliver. Last year was good. One of the best in years. I feel like this year is going to be much better. I feel like this year is going to be an awesome Rumble. We're going to have an awesome WrestleMania. SummerSlam is going to be amazing, and Survivor Series is going to be amazing. And we're going to have really good to great B-level pay-per-views, especially when they are stretched out, when we're going to have one pay-per-view a month. We're back to that, finally, rather than that horrible experiment that they did last year with 2 pay-per-views a month. So I feel like, yeah, this year is going to be an awesome year for the WWE, and all the pay-per-views are going to be, at the very least, entertaining. So I'm really looking forward to what's going to happen this year. Number 3, I feel like Vader will be inducted into the Hall of Fame, and I feel like Demolition will get back, they will get back in the good graces of the WWE, and they will either be inducted in the Hall of Fame this year or next year. Either way, Demolition will be back in the fold because they've Demolition have been having the way that they left. They've been having a lot of they kind of burned the bridge between them and the WWE. But at the same time, I feel like Triple H especially, since bringing back Warrior and Bruno, Demolition are also one of the biggest tag teams ever. So I think it would be good for business to them be brought back and them being inducted into the Hall of Fame. I mean, come on, like you gotta induct them. Um, where did I get to? Number 4. I feel like Impact Wrestling will have a deal with New Japan, or some sort of deal with New Japan, talent exchange, and not just that, maybe even a show, an actual show with New Japan. I feel like that's something that we're going to see in the near future. We're going to see Impact Wrestling with New Japan, with Noah, with Ring of Honor. Like there's going to be a big collaboration somewhere down the line. I really feel like it's going to be a big year for Impact Wrestling. Number 5. Let's see. I lost my count here. Number 5. I think that that Daniel Bryan will return to WWE as a full-time wrestler. He will wrestle again in WWE. He's not going to wrestle outside of it. He's not going to go to the Bullet Club show. He's not going to go to CMLL. He's not going to go to New Japan. I think that he's going to wrestle again for WWE. And I don't think that, you know what? I don't think he's going to be a full-time wrestler, but I do feel like he is going to wrestle every once in a while. Like maybe a Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, matches where he's much more protected. So, and a match that I think that's going to happen at WrestleMania is Shane McMahon versus Daniel Bryan. That's the match that I think is going to happen. And I feel like it's probably going to be a street fight. That's going to be a way to kind of hide Daniel Bryan's abilities. And Shane is going to take the brunt of the punishment there. Let's see. Number 6. I feel like this is going to be the final year for Brock Lesnar as a wrestler. Next year, I feel like he's probably going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame or something like that, or maybe announces a retirement. Have his last match next year at WrestleMania. But I think that this year is going to be his last full year. We saw him wrestle a lot last year, more so than he did in many years. And I think that this is going to be the last year we see him in. Maybe next year we're going to see him in the Rumble and WrestleMania, and that's it. But this is going to be his last full calendar year. Number 7, I think that this year. Okay, now as far as predictions for pay-per-views goes, I think that this year Samoa Joe is going to win the Money in the Bank. I think that this year is the year of Joe, and Joe will be elevated to being a main eventer. Now, you can say that he is a main eventer right now, but I think that he's more of an upper mid-carder because he does go back and forth. And as a guy that you can implement every once in a while in the main event. But I feel like this year is going to be him dominating Raw as the top champion. Maybe even SmackDown. Maybe top champion on SmackDown. But I think he's going to win the Money in the Bank. And he's going to be the top performer, the top champion of whatever brand he's in, depending on the draft. Number 8, I think that Seth Rollins is going to be the guy that wins the Royal Rumble. A lot of people have been saying that it's going to be Roman Reigns. That could be it. But I feel like, I don't know, there's something, especially with the stuff that's been, going around about, Reigns being, taking in steroids and working with some dealer. I don't believe it. I don't think that that's true. But at the same time, WWE might want to, probably gonna take precautions and gonna be like, oh, we're just going to leave the plans on hold until everything is settled. So maybe they're gonna hold him back, and Seth Rollins is gonna be Plan B for them. But to me, I feel like Seth Rollins is gonna win the Royal Rumble. I just see it. There's something about from him being in a hot feud with Kurt Angle and like being in the top feud of Raw, and not just that, but the unbanning of the curb stomp, and of course, that I think the only guy that doesn't mind taking it is Brock Lesnar. So I think that's the reason why that they brought it back, and maybe like Rollins would be able to use it on Brock at WrestleMania, to defeat Brock Lesnar and win the Universal title. I just got this feeling that Seth Rollins is the guy, because WWE tends to do stuff like this where they let the guy that people don't expect the most but is plausible as a winner, like Randy Orton last year. I mean, I didn't expect it at all for Randy Orton to win. I thought it was the last guy that would win that. I actually thought it might have been Bray Wyatt, but yeah, it ended up being Randy Orton. So I feel like Seth Rollins is going to be that guy. Let's see, we're up to number 9 right now. Yeah. Yeah, number 9. I think that this year we're gonna get an NXT invasion angle. I feel like this year is gonna be the year. A lot of people have been talking about this NXT invasion, NXT invasion. I think that this year is gonna be the year because NXT is getting a lot of steam, and WWE really needs that shot in the arm of a really good storyline. And I feel like this year is gonna be the year where we're finally gonna get that. The way that I would do it is maybe at Survivor Series, like leading up to Survivor Series, Raw's feuding with SmackDown, and so Triple H says, we've got our secret weapon. It's NXT. So they bring up a lot of guys from the NXT roster, a lot of guys and gals from the NXT roster, and they use them in their matches. The 10-on-10 tag team match, they bring up a couple of teams. The 5-on-5 women's match, they bring up 2 girls, and the males main event, they're probably gonna bring up a couple for that. Maybe one guy, maybe one big name from the NXT roster. Maybe Ricochet. Who knows? Somebody that's gonna make a huge splash for Team Raw and the main roster. And actually, I think it will bring up a lot of intrigue for that. So that could be the way that I see it happen. Or maybe even, you could have SmackDown versus Raw versus NXT for Survivor Series, where NXT is its own thing, and it's Triple H is finally like, oh, we're not going to be overlooked. NXT is the future, and NXT is here to take over, and so NXT versus Raw versus SmackDown in brand supremacy for Survivor Series, like for the first time ever, NXT is in the warfare. So I see something like that happening this year. And finally, last but definitely not least, a rumor and something that everybody's been talking about for the past 4 years. I think that this year is the year where it finally happens. CM Punk. I don't think that he's going to come back to WWE per se. I'm just saying that it's going to be the year where he finally gets back into wrestling. Maybe not actually wrestling, like getting into the ring and doing stuff, but maybe as a commentator, announcer, GM, authority figure, something like that. I feel like this year is going to be the year, or even a manager. I don't think he's going to come back to WWE, but I feel like he's going to come back in a different promotion. He's going to go to either New Japan or Ring of Honor, maybe manage a few people, cut a few pipe bombs against WWE, since WWE loves doing that every time they show up in Chicago. I think that's, Punk is going to definitely show up. Maybe even in the Bullet Club show, And I would love for the Bullet Club show to be available on iPay-per-view or something like that, where you can actually watch the show rather than it being in its own bubble. So That right there is something that I would love to see, and I think is going to happen. Punk is going to show up in a wrestling promotion. Now, movies. Let's talk about movies. Number one, I think Aquaman is going to make over 500 million, and people will not like it. I think that on Rotten Tomatoes, and everybody's gonna say like it's going to, it deserves, maybe a 7 out of 10 or a 6 out of 10. It's barely passable, and it's gonna make a little bit over 500 million. I think a number that is plausible would be around 600. So, yeah, I think that's a fair assessment on the matter. Number two, The Avengers, Infinity War. I think it will break the $1 billion mark, and I do feel that it will be the highest grossing Marvel movie. That's my prediction. It's going to be the highest grossing Marvel movie, and the number that I'm going to go for is a billion point two, somewhere around there. Billion point two or 2.25, something around those lines. Number three, Friends, the Friends reunion, the movie is gonna make over 500 million, and will get a sequel. It will be announced that there will be a sequel, and it will also open the way. Even though that Sex and the City actually was the one that started this whole thing, I feel like Friends is going to be the one that will bring in more shows that will turn into movies. And I feel like the next step is definitely either Cheers or Seinfeld. Although, Cheers, yeah, they've had a few people, kind of pass away. I think Seinfeld. Yeah, I think Seinfeld probably, and it's not because I got, the box set right in front of me, but I do think that, yeah, Seinfeld is probably going to be the next best step for that. Tomb Raider. Number four, it would be Tomb Raider being, I feel like it's going to be the biggest and will be considered to be the best video game movie ever. A lot of people didn't like Assassin's Creed. I thought it was okay. I never was really a big fan of the video games, but whatever. I thought the movie was okay. It was, whatever. Tomb Raider, however, I think it's going to be the best. Everybody's going to love it. It's going to be the highest grossing video game movie ever. And I think it's gonna open the way for other IP, other more gritty video games to be turned into movies, like Halo. Even though I think that there was a Halo CGI movie or something like that, but I think that they're gonna go for the more gritty games like God of War. If this works out, and I predict it will, God of War is going to be the next one. Number 5, everyone will hate Solo, a Star Wars story. But it will still gross close to a billion. Not quite a billion, but I think very, very close to a billion. Prediction-wise, probably around 900 to the very end of 800. Like 865, 935, somewhere around there. I predict something like that. Number 6, Ocean's 8 will flop. It's a movie that I'm looking forward to. I hope it doesn't flop, but I think it will. Because a lot of things, it's going. There are a lot of things going for it. And another thing that I think will be a flop, I could kind of mash this in, is Scarface. Since these two movies are kind of reboots, or reimaginings or remakes or whatever. Although Ocean's 8 is more of a soft reboot, I think that it will be a big flop, and Scarface is, especially with, a lot of people being taken out and brought in, David Ayer and the Coen brothers being brought in and everything. I feel like that's going to be a flop, but somewhere down the line, people are going to be like, you know what, we actually kind of like some of the stuff in here. And afterwards, it's going to be a cult classic. But right now, I think this year is going to be a complete flop. That and Ocean's 8. Number 7, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, the first superhero animated, CGI animated movie that Sony would ever do, um, is going to make over 500 million. I feel like it's going to bring in a lot of cash, and the reason why I say that is not just because of the fact that it's a Spider-Man movie, and because of Spider-Man Homecoming and everything that they're doing in Marvel, but the reason I say so is because nowadays theaters are more geared towards the experience rather than actual movies. Rather than being engrossed with what you see in the screen, they focus more on the atmosphere, like the 3D, the 4DX, everything, like the sound machines and everything like that, this surround sound. So they're more geared towards experience rather than the movie itself, the story. So I feel like the with all of that going in, it's gonna make over 500 million. It's gonna be like an Avengers, not Avengers, an Avatar type of thing, where it's more about how the thing looks. Number 8, Mowgli, previously known as the Jungle Book, but everybody's like, oh, maybe they finally understood that. People might mistake this for the Jon Favreau Jungle Book that came out in 2016. I think this movie's gonna flop. They've got too many cooks in the kitchen. They've got a big cast, like Andy Serkis. They got Christian Bale, Benedict Cumberbatch, all Kate Blanchett, all these big names. But I feel like even with all these big names, it's not gonna work out. It's gonna be a case of like freaking movie 43. Not as bad, definitely not even close, but I still feel like it's gonna be a bad movie. I don't know. I really like Jon Favreau's movie, and it's way too soon to do a different adaptation of the Jungle Book. It would be okay to do a sequel, but fucking WB are like, ooh, Disney did it, so we got to do it as well. No, don't do it. If it was up to me, I would just tell them, hey, look, rather than doing Mowgli, do something else. Do something that's well known, but something completely different. Like fuck, they're coming out with a Robin Hood movie this year, and I believe that's gonna flop as well. So Robin Hood and Mowgli are gonna flop this year. Number 9, Can You Ever Forgive Me? Which is a name of a movie. It's not me, stating that. Which is a movie. It's a biopic on, I believe Lee Israel. Yeah, Lee Israel, who was a novelist at the time, and or she was a writer, I think, on a TV show or something like that. So this is a biopic, and Melissa McCarthy stars as the main character, and I think that this is going to be the rebirth of her. Everybody's going to take notice on Melissa McCarthy because I do feel like Melissa is very underrated as an actress. You can take her comedy on the side, and actually, if you would, look at her closely, look at her body of work closely, you would see a lot of greatness going on. And I think that Melissa this year is going to shock a lot of people, and everybody's going to be like, "Holy shit, the girl can act! Let us put her in more movies." Like, I really think that she should have been, Wonder Woman's sidekick. She has that character, but at the same time, she might have overshadowed Wonder Woman a little bit. But anyways, I think that this is going to be the rebirth of Melissa McCarthy, and everybody's going to start casting her in more serious roles. So, bye-bye Ghostbusters, and hello, Can You Ever Forgive Me? She's definitely going to get a lot of attention from that, and maybe a few awards. And finally, The Girl in the Spider's Web, which is a reboot of Girl with a Dragon Tattoo. I remember seeing that movie. Don't really remember a lot of it. But I've seen the Swedish movie, the original, and actually the entire trilogy. And I thought that was great. That was a great movie. Probably my favorite Swedish movie. Either that or Let the Right One In. Hmm. Wait, was that Swedish? I think it was. Yeah, so I like that movie. And I even like, I like the American version of it. And Federico Alvarez is going to be directing this. He's going to be directing The Girl in the Spider's Web, which is, like I said, the reboot of it. And they're going to use the new novels, and it's going to be adapted from that. And I think that this movie is going to be the best received movie of the year. Um, Everybody's going to absolutely fall in love with this, because the thing is about Federico is that the way that he directs tension in a scene is like, I don't know, I can't even think of anybody like him. I've seen his movies like Don't Breathe and Evil Dead, the remake from 2013. Those two movies are awesome movies. I really love Don't Breathe, and I think that this year everybody's going to have this movie in their top 10 list. It's gonna be amazing. Might not make a lot of might not make a lot of moolah. That's what I wanted to say. Might not make a lot of money, but it will be the best received. Everybody's going to fall in love with this. I guarantee it. So that's my top 10 for the movies, top 10 for the wrestling stuff, and I want to see like video game stuff as well, really quick. Um, I think the Spider-Man video game, is going to be the worst. Everybody's going to hate it. God of War, people are going to be half and half. They're going to like a few things. I think the Spider-Man game, people are going to like some of the stuff, like the concept of some of the stuff, but most of it, everybody's going to hate it. They're going to equate this to the two Amazing Spider-Man games. The God of War game, everybody's going to kind of like it. There are going to be a lot of backlash towards that. Let's see. The new Batman game. Apparently, there's going to be a new Batman game. Um, I hope that it's going to come out, really near. But I don't know. I have no idea when it's going to come out. Maybe end of this year, maybe next year. I just hope it comes out close, because I would love for another installation, installment, not installation. Fuck, I'm getting my brain is about to shut down. Another installment of the Arkham series. I would love to see another chapter of that. Apparently, it's going to be another prequel. I liked Arkham Origins, but I'm tired of going back to the past. Let's move forward. And please, no more Joker. Let's do other villains, please. No more doing the same stuff that we've seen before. Um, let's see, the WWE game. Okay, WWE 2K19. Um, I haven't played 2K18 yet. Actually, no, I shouldn't say that. I actually did play a little bit of that, um, and I thought it was okay. I didn't care much for it. Didn't see any difference from that and 2K17. Maybe a little bit of the move sets, here and there, but nothing too drastic. I feel like 2K19 is going to be the same. Um, which is not much of a prediction, because hey, everybody expects that. But I feel like it's just going to be the same thing. No, nothing different. Um, let's see. I think that there is going to be an announcement for an N64 Classic. I feel like there are going to it's going to be huge, and not just that. And maybe it's already been announced. The N64 Classic. I haven't really checked, but also I think that another thing that's going to be announced, and Nintendo, I feel like they're going to be geared towards nostalgia as we move forward. Um, there are going to be, maybe Game Boy classics, and I feel like that they're going to delve into the market of more nostalgic stuff, and maybe even re-releasing stuff in their original hardware, which would be great. I would love to see that. Fuck, that would be amazing. Like, imagine um, that they would release the GameCube again. Re-release it. I have a GameCube right now. Finally, after many years, but imagine them re-releasing that with an HDMI, input. I mean, there are those, but they are a little bit faulty. So imagine Nintendo actually doing that with the GameCube. So I feel like that they will do more, of that. Let's see. Nothing much more to say about, that. Let's see. Trying to think. Tekken X Street Fighter. I think that's done for. Street Fighter X Tekken I thought was good, but Tekken X Street Fighter, which was apparently going to be this big thing, I think that there is a chance. You know what? I think that there is a chance that there is going to be a Tekken X Street Fighter coming out soon. That's something that's been rumored for the past 6 years. So I think finally that they're going to break their silence, and finally Namco and Capcom are going to finally come out with that and say, like, okay, we're going to do this, because guess what? There's been a lot of backlash against Street Fighter V. Everybody's been hating on Street Fighter recently, so I think that they're going to start doing that. Tekken X Street Fighter, because Tekken 7 was a huge success, so they're definitely going to go with that. Let's see. Other stuff. That's all I gotta say right now. So if something comes to mind, I might do a continuation of this. But so far, nothing much really. TV. Let's talk about TV a little bit. Oh, fuck it. I can go a little bit long. Let's see. I feel like there is going to be a lot of cancellations this year. As much as I hope that it doesn't happen, I feel like The Gifted might get canceled this year, especially with the Fox and Disney deal going on. And I feel like Disney is going to completely erase. No, they're actually going to have those shows on their streaming services, but they're going to end those shows. So they're going to end The Gifted, which I've been enjoying. I really been enjoying. I've watched it back and I really enjoyed it. Legion, I don't care for it. I watched the first episode. Wasn't for me. Don't really care for it. But it will. I think it will get canceled. Their Netflix shows, I think that they're going to. They're going to continue with that, but the character that I think that's going to be added to the Netflix universe is going to be Blade. I think there is going to be a Blade show on Netflix. I really like the one on Sci-Fi a few years ago. I don't know if it was on Sci-Fi or TNT. There was one in 2013 that I actually enjoyed. I thought it was really good. And we all remember the 3 movies, and those were maybe like Blade Trinity was a financial flop, and well, actually a critical flop, but I don't think it was a financial flop. I think it made a little bit made a little bit of money. Maybe not as big as the first 2, but I think that it's still a big IP, so they still can use that. They still can put it in the Netflix universe, and I think that's where it works out very well, is when it's R-rated, or maybe even TV-14. So I think you got to have a lot of blood, you got to have a lot of decapitations, so do that. Yeah, I think that Blade is going to be there, and they're going to definitely have interactions with Blade and Punisher. And I think another character that it's going to be introduced is, I think, Moon Knight. I think Moon Knight is going to be used because Spawn is coming out, I think, in 2019. And if the movie wasn't being announced and is going to start filming this year, I would have said, Spawn is definitely somebody that you would want to have, on Netflix. But I feel like Moon Knight is going to be their answer. Marvel's answer for that, and they're going to have a show announced for Netflix. Let's see what else. I think that this is probably going to be the final year for Legends of Tomorrow. Been hearing a lot of bad things about that, and some people are talking, saying that they've given up on Supergirl. I don't think that this is going to be the last year for Supergirl. I think that Supergirl is going to still persevere. That it's still got a few years ahead of it. I think Supergirl is going to keep going forward for the next couple of years, at the very least. I see a 10-season idea for it. Arrow's going to continue until its 10th season. And let's see. I think Black Lightning, it's been getting a lot of good reviews, but I don't know. I got this feeling where it's going to get canceled after one season. It's going to be kind of like Constantine. Constantine was awesome. But this, I feel like, it's probably going to... It got a... I think even from the first episode, it got a lot of better reviews, but at the same time, I feel like it's going to get lost. It's going to get lost in the shuffle. So everybody's going to be turned off by that. And after one season, it's going to get canceled. Really sad that Powerless got canceled. Let's see. What else? As far as Marvel goes, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to continue. The Runaways. I heard about The Runaways. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's going to continue. Maybe that's going to continue. But yeah, that's all I got to say about that as far as superhero shows. I would love for, just end Justice League Action and have an actual show about Justice League. I just want Justice League to come back as an actual show. Because I think that's the reason why Justice League... That's one of the biggest reasons why Justice League flopped, is because nobody cared for the shows. Like, if Justice League came out in 2008, like it was supposed to come out, then guaranteed that movie would have made $1 billion easy. But whatever. What are you gonna do? So yeah, that's all I gotta say about that. That's pretty much it. So, with that being said, rate, comment, favorite, happily subscribe, share with your friends, share with everybody. And check out my next video. We'll be talking about something else.